Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. I am joined by my co-host Philip Wyatt. Glad to have you back this week.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and then we also have special guest Ron Stokes, and we are going to be talking about all things paranormal as we always do. So feel free to ask any questions you have, including those of the not so nice paranormal today, because we have the perfect person on to answer those questions. So real quick before we get started, Ron, can you actually, before we get started, I do want to say if we get disconnected, I'm sorry, we're getting some storms. But if you guys lose me, you two keep going because StreamYard will keep going even if I'm not on here.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you said that because I didn't
Yeah.
know if you were gone, if we were still here or not. So,
Yeah, I think it
okay,
does.
cool.
From the last time it happened, it did. So I think we're
All
good. So
right,
you guys just keep going and I'll log back in when I can.
Awesome.
deal.
So,
Yeah, we'll
but
do that.
But Ron, let everybody know a little bit more about you. Tell them about your team and actually who you are.
All right. Well, hello, everybody out in TV land. I'm Ron Stokes. I have started a recording studio, Stokes Pro Studio, out in West Columbia, South Carolina. And I run a state team for South Carolina with 30 people on there. And we are doing cases over South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia. I am part of the Southeastern USA division of the Warren Legacy Foundation, and I am also deacon and lead investigator for the Solomonic Order of St. Michael Archangel.
So, and I know I have a lot of questions. I don't know if Philip, if you've prepared anything yet or.
No, I'm gonna probably listen and then add to. I just told everybody to make sure they have their rosaries ready. But did I spell rosary correct? Because I can't spell.
I don't know.
Yeah. And I have my Archangel Michael candle lit just for you back here. So
Nice. Yes. Keep it going.
Yeah, and I don't have a rosary, so I guess I'm screwed. No.
yeah, I don't have I used to have rosaries. I gave them all to my niece when she went through that phase of, you know.
Mhm.
Where,
I have to constantly have an entire case of rosaries and just all kinds of protections, all kinds, man. I've got Saint Benedict medals, Saint
Mhm.
Michael's medals, ring from a exorcist that I work with, uh, Archbishop Rawcliffe, and also he ended up giving me a very special rosary. It was from Saint John Paul II when he was working with him at the Vatican.
Oh
Mhm.
wow, that's really
That's
nice.
cool.
Yeah, it's already helped a lot of people just putting it in their hand, and if they
Yeah.
have the real faith, then they've been able to get some blessings. I've had a guy that was stage 4 cancer. He was walking through the door, just hunched over, barely even able to really walk. And I asked him what was wrong. He told me. I was like, "Oh no, oh no, are you a faith man?" And he found out, and I was like, "Well, check this rosary out. This might help just a little bit." And only a couple minutes. That's all it takes is really enough for everything to just start. A really good healing power, and at least being able to control a lot more of
Yeah.
the situation. I ended up putting it in the hand of a lady that has a very bad back, kidney failure, and I'm hoping that did some luck for her this week. So, yeah, I'm just going to keep that luck rolling around as much as I can. It's
Yeah.
Well, that,
really
yeah.
powerful.
That's like Reiki healing. It's energy healing from spirit. I mean, it's coming through that. I started to say artifact, but I don't know. It's probably not that old, but coming through that as a divine way to get to the person. So
It
that's really
it's
cool.
been a minute since John Paul was in office, man.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah. And like you had said, it's all about faith. It's believing in the power of it. Because I mean, it might work if you handed it to me, but because that's not of my religious faith, I think it would be better suited for someone who truly believes in it.
Yeah. And also, well, I have seen some even skeptic and non-believers end up having a change of face the minute
Yeah.
that they were around me. All it usually takes about 20 minutes being in a haunted location. Whenever I walk in, about 20 minutes is all it takes.
Yep. Yeah.
Well,
I've heard that a lot.
I have Archangel Michael medallion in my wallet. I have them in my cases, my paranormal equipment cases.
Mhm.
Yeah, I believe in him.
There you go.
And I carry my rosemary,
Yeah,
rosemary and sage.
it's
I believe in
really
those too.
good. For people that do have faith, one of the most powerful prayers that I have found so far is the St. Michael prayer.
Yeah, that's a
It's
great
knocked
prayer.
some stuff out that needed to knock out quite a few times. And if it's memorized and you push the intent fully to the max on it, saying it with authority, and you got yourself a good shot. You really do.
Cool, cool, cool. And I know before we went live, and I had talked to you about this before, but you had mentioned something about origins. Could you kind of explain that to the audience a little bit more about what that is?
Origins, like being able to grow up in a home that has live activity and having that firsthand experience as a kid or somewhere along your timeline and where everything started. And I like to call this your brown pants moment. You're able to have your very first brown pants moment.
Yeah.
And I can still remember mine. And yeah, it was close to around 14, and I was I was raised with my grandmother on my dad's side, and she was always talking to spirits. And from day one, back in the 80s, people would usually want to call that some kind of a mental disease. They didn't want to
Yeah.
end up having any belief system on any of this. So she was staying all to herself. She knew that she had the gift, and she had them showing up from all over the place, and some of them were good, some of them were bad, and it really taught me how to be able to talk to them the right way and what not to do, the wrong things that you shouldn't do in those situations. And yeah, my brown pants moment was something very special. I ended up getting a phone call because I lived on the same street as my grandmother, about 8 houses down from her, and she was closer to the railroad tracks. I was closer to the highway. Uh, yeah, we got a call from her neighbor saying, "You got to come down here. You've got to be able to get this situation under control." She is screaming at the top of her lungs. She's ready to bam on somebody. I have no idea what's going on. And so all of a sudden, here I was, like just a kid, just running like hell all the way back down to grandma's house, in the middle of the night to see what's going on. And as I was approaching the situation, she was really, really angry, and she was swinging a baseball bat at her crawl space in her backyard, and had a spotlight there towards the open crawl space door. She was swinging it. She was like, "Come on, come on, I got you, I got you. We're doing this right now." She was ready to bam, and this was a 70-year-old woman, and I was like, "Grandma, we got to talk. There's something." There's something you got to know. You are freaking out our neighbors right now. What are you doing? And she was like, something just tried to tell me that it was wanting to do some horrible things to me while I was taking a bath. And so I ended up coming out here and handling it. I don't need
Southern woman. Yeah.
Yeah. This was a farm girl.
She ain't gonna take no BS.
She was born in Blacksville, and she was one out of 9 kids, and born in 1918. So
wow.
she had her own farm all over across her backyard. She grew peaches and pears, and she had her own onion. She had her own tomato. She had her own lettuce, broccoli, and just so much more. She was a woman that believed in herbs. She had an entire library, an entire wall of how to make herbs something special to being able to take care of your body. And yeah, so
Native American in her, Chimmy, Native American blood in her.
Just a little bit.
Yeah,
just a little bit right there. Yeah. So there was a heated moment, and I looked and I saw it in her eyes. She was ready. She was so ready to fight, and I was like, "Look, I'll tell you right now. I don't want you to have to take on anything. I've got this. I'm going to handle it for you. And she was like, I don't need you. And she tried to push me back and push me out the yard. But she was so, she was so small that she pushed herself back and just basically used my chest as a prop for a minute. And I was like, Grandma, I'm trying to help you, and you need to get back inside. So I'm going to show up. I'm going to go up underneath this crawl space, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's under there. And I'm going to run out anything. You be ready with that bat. You be ready with that bat. You swing on something that's not me coming out there, please. I thought it might have been a prowler. We were right down the road from a very bad ghetto area.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that somebody snuck in, was trying to do something, just being able to have a place to go for a minute. Somebody homeless, some crawl space vacant that they thought of. Who knows, right? So, I go up underneath that crawl space. And my grandfather was a very smart man. He built this entire home. And the crawl space was actually pretty good. It's about waist level all the way across. Almost all the way across. And it had moisture barrier. Plastic was laid out around the block peering, and you could see a very good visual eye on every single girder system and joist, all the flooring. And he had really good props even for his insulation from back in the day in the 60s when he built that. I was pretty surprised at how good he was at it. And all that was done just making money by selling fishing cane poles, and he was the first Coleman Camping Center in Columbia, South Carolina. So he made his money like that. And here I am. I'm going through this crawl space. I get about 3-4 rooms in towards where her bathroom was, and I take this little left turn, little look peek, and there was spotlights everywhere. My grandfather had built this place to where every single 10 foot was another spotlight mounted to the girder system around the flooring. And so I took a peek towards the left, and something came at me from the right. It was basically directly at my ear, and it screamed, "Get out."
Oh, wow.
And being a kid, I was like, that wasn't right. That was not good at all. I don't know what that was. And I was looking around. There wasn't nothing present in front of me for me to be able to see. But I clearly heard something, and there wasn't nobody in the house. And it was just her, living there. So here I was. I was shocked, and I was shocked, and I was amazed. And I remember going back out that crawl space and thinking to myself, I just really need to tell her that everything's okay to get back inside. So I went and that's what I did. And she was like, I don't believe you. I really don't. I know better. She knew better. And so we go back inside. She was just calmed down more than anything else. And she put the baseball bat by the back door, and I was walking her towards the front door in her house. And just as I was saying, I don't think there's anything in there, all of a sudden, every radio that was present in her home, she probably had like about 5 just sitting in different directions, in the kitchen and the back room, in all the bedrooms and the front room, around the hallway, around the dining room area. I mean, she would blast out Christian music all over the place sometimes. So she had a radio for just every situation she was through the house at. But every single one of them came on at the same time while we were right in the middle of this hallway that was circular that led towards a couple of different directions in the home towards that front. And I remember it happened just as we were walking from that hall and towards the front living room, that all of those radios went off, and it freaked us out. But at the same time, I just looked at my grandmother, and she was like, don't worry about this. I got it. I'm good. You don't worry about me.
Do you recall if the radios were on the same channel or the
It was. Every single one of them was on a Christian channel.
Mm-hmm.
So never know what was able to do all that.
That was probably somebody on her side.
That's what I thought about,
It's Christian music. Mr. Nasty was not going to turn that on.
That's what I was thinking about. And there was also some past life that had come to her quite a few times. She had a neighbor that ended up shooting himself in the head on the front porch right beside her place.
Oh.
And so his name was Andrew, and I remember her talking to him quite a few times.
Oh.
Very vivid conversations about things that she really shouldn't have even known. They barely even talked to each other whenever I was around. I would show up after school. We'd be playing checkers on the back porch, and we might see him walking around here and there, but not too much. He would hang out in his place. Well, she said that that he did something horrible, that he was very sorry for it. And I probably shouldn't even say that, just to remain respectful towards the family. But yeah, he would show up and he would talk to her and he would tell her exactly what I was doing in other parts of the home far away from her. I would end up going like towards the bathroom, and I would use the bathroom all of a sudden all the way across the house. And when I came out from that bathroom area, my father's old bedroom, when he was growing up, he was adopted, and he was growing up in this bedroom, just as he was probably up towards his 17, 18 year, whenever he went to the Army National Guard there. I looked in there and I saw a picture of him in uniform. And so I walked up to it and I was looking at that picture of him in uniform. And I was so proud to see this guy, with all of the uniform. And he has the same exact jawline that I've got. And we're cut from the same cloth, man. If you took a look at both of us side by side with the picture, there's no difference really. And so I was like, man, I'd look good in a uniform like that. I know that I would, if he looked good, I know I would.
That's great.
And so there I am. I'm putting the picture down. And I'm walking back in towards this back den where she was always hanging out and reading her books with the herbs. And she said, what was you doing? I said, I was using the bathroom, Grandma. She said, no, you wasn't. You was meddling, and something just told me that you was meddling. What was you doing? And I was shocked. I was like, now I'm going to tell you right now. I walked in towards my father's old bedroom. I just took a look at a couple photos and came back here. She's like, okay, all right. Okay. So I had to be very cautious that, I treaded lightly whenever I was at that house, because I knew that I was getting snitched on by stuff I couldn't even see. And I wanted her to remain safe. And that entire situation freaked me out pretty bad. But her last days, those things became very mean, and it got worse. They were, me and Philip had a conversation on another Southern Hospitality for the Warren Files, about people that are up in their age, close to the veil, how sometimes these entities will show up and they'll drain off of them, and it's like a battery source for them. They'll get stronger and off of the fears and everything like that. But stuff was picking her up and throwing her around the room. She had her face busted up. And her whole body was getting rocked by some of these times. She was getting picked up and thrown, all the way up to the part where she was in the hospitals for her last times. And so I was probably about 15, 16, 17 or so whenever I was experiencing all of that. But sometime around 1920 or so, whenever I had gotten my first real good job and trying to put myself through college, I would show up every now and then and watch out for as much as I could, but that was the last of it for a little while. I didn't experience anything really particularly paranormal for a very long time. Couple of years went by, and I was probably about 23, 24 or so, and then I had another experience where I was working out of town in Lancaster, South Carolina. And I was doing foundation repair, where you have to dig 10-foot holes with a shovel and drag a couple 100 pounds of concrete and foot-high crawl space to build block piers and lifting up with drop sills and stuff like that, and fixing foundations, lifting up on houses and commercial and all of that. And we were doing an old folks home. We were lifting up on an old folks home out there, and we were staying in this very, very crappy hotel. I probably shouldn't say the name, but it was a pink looking building, and it was just one of the rattiest of what you could even see. If you were to look at it from the street, you saw a window for the clerk and 6 doors out towards the right, and that's all you saw from there. And pink of all. It was a ran down pink. They didn't even want to paint over it. It was so sad. Looked like 10, 15 years of that pink just worn out.
Was this by the hour hotel or?
I was going to ask.
It was one of the cheapest you could find. My boss didn't care. He just bought something for everybody to go ahead and say, here you go. Here's your room. And so, yeah. And we were staying across the street from a place that was the Alligator Grill, where you could show up and order a steak that was a 32-ounce sirloin, and you had to kill it off with a baked potato and a salad in less than an hour. If you did that, you got the chance to get your name with a plaque on the wall. So my buddy was sitting there that I work with. He was ordering one up with me, and he got his like a medium rare so he could taste the blood or something like that. I was like, yeah, good luck with that, buddy. I know exactly what's about to happen to you. And I ordered mine like I think about well done, because a 32-ounce sirloin is a lot. You know what I'm saying? That's
a raw meat if it's rare. Oh.
That's a lot. So I ended up killing mine with a well done. And I looked at him, and he was tired. After about half of his, he just threw his fork down, and he was tired of chewing. He was like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. But he was cheering me on the whole time. And so there it was. I was happy about that. I got done with all of that. I was record timing, 45 minutes or something like that. And so I'm going back to my room. I'm laying down, and a couple of hours later, after I'd passed out, I'm sitting there just dreaming, having a good time in my sleep. All of a sudden, there's covers that creep from my chest level up towards my mouth, and when it got around my nose and my mouth, it wrapped around and tightened and constricted it. It constricted me. I could feel the eyes bulging from the constriction, cutting off circulation to my throat. And it was smothering me. I couldn't hardly breathe. Just trying to throw a couple of punches at it, I was able to end up stopping that from happening. I probably threw like about 5 wild swings. I mean, this wasn't nothing that I could really do that was serious. I knew martial arts, but it wasn't nothing that you could really see. So I took a look, and basically whenever I opened up my eyes throwing these swings, I looked up, and there was this dark, shadowy figure that was just as tall as the ceiling in this bedroom. And so, I really wasn't even able to aim too well. I was just throwing very blind, raged punches, trying to breathe again.
Panic mode.
And so it ended up stopping and just disappeared, dissipated right in front of us. I watched it disappear, and I was like thinking to myself, like, I'm going nuts. I'm going nuts. There ain't nothing here. What is wrong with me? What in the world is going wrong with me? And I was like, man, that must have been a big meal. I must have worked my ass off the day too hard. I'm going back to bed. So I tried to lay back down and throw it off as a this is my fault type deal.
Yeah.
But it tried to happen again. A couple of minutes later, after I felt myself subside back in towards sleepland, I felt the covers raise up from chest level. And when it got towards my chin, I threw them off, and I walked outside going, no, you ain't doing this again. That ain't happening. And I walked out, and I did not sleep in that room. I didn't sleep at all. And it took me quite a little bit of time, a few days before I even got rest again. The next morning I was ready for work, but at the same time, I wasn't ready for work. just going through everything with an instant
Mhm.
replay in my head. And
Did that really happen?
yeah, preparing myself just to end up working again, digging holes for a living. I was over at a gas station talking things out, trying to get some breakfast and eat something real quick. We were probably about 4 or 5 deep in a line towards the cashier. And I started talking about it with my buddy. And it was the same one from the night before with the steak. And he's still, he was still hurting from the night before. But I started talking to him and letting him know what was going on. And the clerk overheard me. And after he cleared everybody else out of the path and we got up towards the front, we were buying everything. He looked at me and he was like, I heard what you just said, man. And you need to know that somebody died in that room a little while back. And I looked at my buddy, looked at him. I was like, yeah, go figure, right? That's my luck.
That's your room. Yeah.
That's my luck right there. And so I went the rest of the day, just subsided. I was like, okay, well, at least I know some answer. So I got done with work. My boss was like, hey, I'm going to show up in the rooms. I'm going to grab up all y'all stuff. I'm going to take y'all home. Y'all get to go home tonight. Y'all done a bang up job. I'm going to make sure that y'all get to the house. I was like, yeah, cool. Sure. And now this guy was about as tall as Lurch. All right. This guy was a Marine. He was probably roughly around 6'8", 6'9", and stood about maybe 260 mark. And nothing but muscle, buck guy, huge, tall, buck guy. And I was like, yeah, you are the one. You go ahead. You go and get my stuff for me, buddy. You go and do
I'll
all
wait
that.
out here.
I'll be right here on the job. You good. Go for it. And he gets back and he's taking a look and he's got this O face. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I was like, what you doing with that O face, buddy? What you doing with that O face? What you looking like that for? And he was like, I'm gonna ask you something. Did you attack somebody last night? I said, no, of course not, man. I'm here for work. I wouldn't do nothing like that to you. I'm tired, man. Why would I be going out and trying to attack anybody? And he's like, look, man, I'm just asking, and I'm telling you, I got you back. I got you back, man. Just let me know what's going on. I said, look, man, I wouldn't do that to you. I'm a good guy. I promise. I'm not going to be attacking people on your watch.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, cool, but this is unexplainable. I said, what? He said, I walked in there to get your stuff, and there was a cleaning lady in there trying to get everything prepped. And in between the 2 mattresses that you were sleeping on, she found a dried up, bloody weapon. I said, what? You found what? You bought me the worst room where? What?
The murder room.
And so, yeah, I was like, I got to see this. You go ahead, whip this out, Bubba. Let me see it. And so there he is. It's in the back of the truck. I'm like, how about that? I should have taken a photo, but I didn't. I don't think I've even had the same phone, and it would save up to Google anyway. You know how it was back in the day with a phone. They didn't do all that syncing up to Google stuff.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, there it was, a dried up, bloody rock in the sock. And whenever we got back to West Columbia at the shop, we ended up cutting it open. And I took a look inside. There was some 57 stone that was stacked in there, probably about 5, 6, 7, 8 wrapped up in there in the bottom of the sock. And it was a lot of blood, dried up blood all over the sock. And it had
the murder weapon. Who died in that room? They could have hidden it under the mattress.
It was an electric tape and duct tape wrap all the way around it, going all the way up. So it was a lot of slicing and dicing with my knife just to get in there to see it. But I saw it. I saw everything it was, and I was looking at my buddy and just shaking my head the whole time, like, I can't believe this. This is my luck. This is completely my luck.
So let me choose the hotel next time.
Yeah. I'll get my own room. Thank you. I might just sleep in the truck if I can sleep at all. You know.
I want to get back, ask you something about your grandmother. you said she played Christian music, so she was very religious
Yeah, she
her life.
raised me. She raised me Episcopalian. She
Okay.
was very religious woman. She prayed to God probably like 20, 30 times a day at the least. She was constantly a very good woman of the community of the church. She was making the best ever cakes,
Oh, church cakes.
like sour cream cakes and stuff like
Sour
that.
cream,
She
pound
was
cakes. Yes.
she would make a whole bunch of very good stuff from scratch, and
Coconut
she would
cakes.
throw her peaches in there. She would make jellies and jams with her pears, pear butter, and aside from that, we did not go hungry. Just that's all I can say. We did not go
When you
hungry.
can grow it, you can eat it.
She
You
even
don't
had
go hungry.
she had her own string peas. She had her own green peas, man. She was rocking it. She knew how to take care of herself. This was a very independent Christian woman from day one, and the fact that she took in her sister's kid and adopted from the age of 9. That was so cool of her. I'm glad that I'm a Stokes. I'm a Stokes, and I'm going to represent for her for the rest of my days.
That's sweet.
You guys are making me hungry.
Oh, and I want some steak and some garden tomatoes.
There you go.
When you were telling your story, Jess says you need a squirt gun with holy water.
Oh, I can do that in a heartbeat. Look at that. This is easy as that. Okay, you just get yourself a spray bottle, and then you douse the house. That's all it is. Every day, all day, man. And I've had to use it quite a few times in here. I've had people showing up, not even anything going on for paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
I do run a recording studio. I got 5 acoustic drums, 1 electric drum, 2 pianos, 4 guitar amps. I got PA for days, and I run a very good recording studio through here. So I've always got people in and out. And there was this little girl that showed up one night with one of my drummers, and she's finding out about what I do. And she's like, I think I've got an attachment. I think I've got an attachment. I ended up going and dealing with some things one time, and I think I've got an attachment. So here's what I did. I was like, oh, yeah? Well, I grabbed this up, and I just doused her real quick. And she was like, what did you do? What'd you do? I'm like, you ain't got no attachment. You good.
But it was a good attachment. Yeah, I love when I say that. Yeah.
Sometimes you got to be like that,
Yep.
You didn't like, oh, it burns.
Right.
You got to worry. Yeah.
Exactly. And this right here is the real deal stuff. This comes from the Dead Sea. This was given to me by my chief exorcist, Archbishop Rawcliffe, and it's a really good idea. He carries a few of them around. He's got one with the fake holy water, and he's got one that's got real holy water, and you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, those are good tests.
Yep.
Very.
Yeah, I have 4 small vials. One of them's the good stuff. 3 of them's not.
Yeah.
And I have them marked with certain marks, so I know which one is which.
Yeah.
So if they can't hold one of those.
Yeah, it's really hard to cipher out when you have people that are just having mental problems.
Yeah.
And not very, malevolently afflicted, I guess you could say, dark malevolently afflicted. It's a very big test that you can do, just one out of many, to making sure that you figure it out for yourself. And doing those tests has all of a sudden gotten me into being a lead investigator for a chief exorcist. So a couple of years later, here I am. I got better. My investigator skills are going through the roof this past couple of months, way better than it actually should be right now.
Yep. You've been busy. And that actually brings me to the one question I had is why the darker side of the paranormal? Why not just the happy-go-lucky, fluffy, hey, I'm going to go to Waverly and do a quick investigation and then go home?
So you mean to why I'm not just a ghost hunter instead of a paranormal investigator and going out getting thrills and stuff?
Right. And why demonology?
Well, why demonology? I have been able to have enough experience to figure out when it's malevolent and when it's not. Past, like Joe Frankie says. I love it when he says this. Casper doesn't pick you up and chunk you around the room. You know, so I've got enough experience to figure out when I'm around those areas, and I would say that you get a percentage of cases that are very good past life, just people that did not go into the beyond, that
Yeah.
are trapped in certain situations, certain locations, and at certain times, and I get to help out and counsel, and I think God ended up creating a little bit of patience in me and discernment, and it's gone even farther now that I'm deacon. The spiritual warfare is horrible that goes on somebody that tries to be going in and being a clergy. And spiritual warfare is one of the first things that comes for you when you do that. But a lot of this I do to help people. The situation like what I dealt with when I was a kid. I wanted to be there with somebody that could know how to help out more. That was a stronger person than I was at my youth, and I needed somebody there, but only person was just me and my grandmother, and same goes for that hotel room situation. I wished I would have had somebody to be able to help me out and let me know exactly what was going on, and me not have to cipher and investigate for myself.
Yeah.
It would have been really cool to have somebody helping me. I see some questions going on. I want to
Yep.
say hey to
Oh,
everybody. Hey, everybody out
Coming
in
up.
TV land. Hey there.
Yeah, I know Talia had the first question. She wanted to know, what is it like working in the demonology department?
Uh, it's a it's very different from the ghost division that I've created with uh, with my team. I won't even take the name Ghost Division and say that it was mine. It was a couple of other people's, just throwing the name around for that. But it's a very big difference. The demonology department is feeling more at home because of everything that I know already. It just came very natural, and it grew on me. I didn't really want to do that at first. I came into a case where I saw somebody that was very malevolently affected and being channeled. And I ended up dealing with that and then going out looking for people to help me. And it took quite a few people looking for the right help. And Archbishop Rawcliffe was the only one that stepped up to bat and wanted to help me out. So I figured that I owed him for helping me getting better and more education and all of that. And it grew to the part where it was more of extra extended family at after a while. Being with the people on my team, I love every single one of them. Every single one of them are awesome people, very, very awesome people, and from such a wide range of life. Every single one of them, so different and so awesome. And I thank God that I have been able to build every single team that I've got. Um, I am not really that gifted. My grandmother was. Um, yeah, you can know when negative energy is around and you can protect yourself. That's taking a preemptive strike. That's what I call that. Protecting yourself is taking a preemptive strike. And, you never know what you will encounter. That's for sure. It's very true. It's very
That,
true. It's
speaking
different case to case.
speaking of which, something I see a lot, and I've seen for several years, are these young ghost hunters go on a few investigations and they're demonologists. They're going to be exorcists. They're going to save the world and rid the world of demons after two ghost hunts.
Yeah, I don't let that happen at all.
Yeah.
You actually have to have a very successful record of even being able to do ghost cases before I will even let you be able to train for the demonology area. I take that very seriously. Some people are not mentally prepared. Some people are not mature enough. Some people do not handle well in those very, very dark
Stressful
areas.
situations. But there are some very mean, nasty human ghosts
Yeah,
that will do things to intimidate you, fool you, scare you, that can imitate demonic activity, such as things that they say. Like, how many times have I gotten on the spirit box, I'm Lucifer or I'm Satan? And these uneducated kids are going to go, oh my God, it's a demon, it's the devil. No, it's not. It's some on the other side who is trying to intimidate you and scare you.
that's
And
right.
that has nothing to do with a demon, but they
That's right.
don't have the education, the patience, or the critical thinking to look through that and past it. And that's what worries me with some of these kids.
It's
Mhm.
true.
Like they're so fascinated by the whole demon world, and television's done a bad job for
That's
this,
helped.
and the
That's helped
movies.
tremendously. Yeah,
And
TV and movies.
I just want to see some of these kids put the brakes on.
Me too.
This is serious. I mean, I remember a few years ago, somebody that was new. Oh, we've got a demon. We've got a demonic case. We've got a demonic case, and we're heading to their house. And I was like, no, whoa, whoa, whoa. Have they had their psych exam yet? Well, no, we're going to do that after we get there. We're going to tell you. I said, no, no, no. Wait a minute. Have they had a physical examination to check for brain tumors, epilepsy? Oh, no, no, we haven't done all that yet. I said, so you may get in there, scare them to death, cause them to have some kind of seizure, go into a coma, and then their family's going to sue you.
That's right. That's
for
right.
everything you've got, because
Yeah.
and they
Or put
they
their house up for sale.
yeah, it's just amazing what some of these people are jump into without having a clue about what they're doing.
Mhm.
That's very true, man. That's very true. And also, whenever you're showing up and handling those kinds of cases, the way that you handle things is going to matter tremendously towards being able to get the right answers.
Mm-hmm.
If you're showing up in there and you're trying to pull a Ouija board out, I'm not even gonna I'm not even gonna be in there. I'm gonna be like, nope, hit the road, not here, not right now. And I do that specifically because I know that there's a lot of channels that will bring things in a
Mm-hmm.
lot quicker from areas that are not just a ghost area. As it's not just a spirit box. There's so many different ways of channels,
Sure,
but a
absolutely.
lot of the issues I've even seen, there's people that are using crayons, drawing on a piece of paper to use a Ouija board. It's not
Sure.
just a regular Ouija board that can do all the things that they do.
No,
And you
you
put
can.
stuff in, and that Ouija board gets picked up and thrown across the room, then you will know a little bit more experience of what you would be needing to look out for. But it's in the
But they're
wrong place,
not prepared
the wrong
to
way.
handle those situations if
Not
they
at all.
come about.
Yeah,
That's
no,
that's when everyone gets in trouble. The client gets in trouble. The investigators who think that they know about demonology because they've watched television shows. It's
yeah,
a slippery, scary slope. It just worries me for some of these young ones.
that's right. And I take things piece by piece whenever I'm training people up. I like to make sure that all the education is really thorough. I like the way Philip has an opportunity to train for everybody on his team, and doing it was Ghost Ed 101, wasn't it? That y'all were doing some training for at least the ghost missions, not so much the
Mhm.
demonology. But yeah, I make private videos with showing conclusive evidence and very substantial evidence And I'm very cautious about my EVPs
Mhm.
as well as my videos of ghosts and anything else that's captured on film. Um, you want to make sure that you're protecting those people, teaching them protections first and foremost is key. And making sure that they are in a place of their life where they are even able to learn stuff like this is key. The wrong person jumps into this field and tries to learn and study this stuff just to do it as a hobby. It's not a hobby. That's dangerous. You're playing with the wrong one. You need to go into trying to do some drawing and having some fun painting on a canvas or something like that. If you don't want a hobby, this is not a hobby.
No,
This is a career, and it's a path that you
it's
take.
a calling. I
Really
mean,
need
especially when you get into the aspect of demons and demonology.
Mhm.
That's a whole separate category. That's a religious component to paranormal. And
Yeah.
that's a whole separate ball game.
You're right, buddy.
Dealing with human ghosts.
You're right.
You're dealing with religion, thousands of years of history,
Yeah.
cultures.
And just to be in
Yeah.
the demonology field, there's studies of theology,
Mhm.
and all kinds of different backgrounds of things that you would really need to look into,
Yeah.
as well as scientifically. You want to be able to find out some very good scientific
Yeah.
stuff as well. But I take things piece by piece. Way before I'm showing the videos of me walking in and capturing something with three horns on their head and walking around the room, I'm
Yeah.
not going to show you that on the first day. I promise. That's not going to happen.
It's like in driver's ed. First thing they show you is the fatal
Yeah.
car accident.
Right. Exactly.
So I'm like, oh, I'm never driving again. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the
You
way
don't
it
want to
is.
do that right away.
Mm-mm. Nope.
Questions?
Yep. Kelly wants to know, how would you properly train? Philip makes a good point. There are mean spirits, evil elements, and demons, but the big difference between them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. I recently had one a few weekends ago. I sent people to where a rosary got pulled and broke, and there was nothing else in the room to being able to do that. It just did that. And I'm glad that I had put people in there that I had trained to properly handle and assess that situation, and everything got documented. And we're going to be having all kinds of different compelling evidence for that one. And same goes for showing up and doing ghost missions.
Yeah.
I don't want to put people on there that are going to be asking the wrong questions and provoking. I don't like that at all. It's different for somebody that's clergy to walk into a room who's finding out that there's something that's been hurting people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They can do religious provocation and they get away with it, whereas somebody that's not a
Wow.
priest shouldn't be doing it at all. It'll ruin your life. It's not just about having something come out and attack you. Yes, I have had things attack, and I've seen people picked up and thrown. I've seen a whole bunch of things just scratching people right beside me, right in front of my own eyes, capturing all that. But there's a big difference when you're walking into a room and you're knowing that it's been affecting the room rather than affecting the people. You might have some ghost issues.
Yeah.
If it's affecting the people and not just the room,
Mhm.
you got something else.
Yep.
And you got to try to train up a little bit, make sure that you're asking the right questions, investigating properly.
Evil, I mean, the meaning of evil is the absence of any good, period. There's nothing good with this entity. Whereas nasty ghosts can possibly be reasoned with and dealt with divine intervention. Whereas
Sometimes,
you can't reason with the demon. I mean, you can't say, if you do this, we'll do this. There's no good there. They're not
Right.
out to do anything
That's
of the
right.
light. And people don't realize you don't have control over this. You can't make nice with this thing.
Exactly.
You got to know. You
Yeah,
got to have
when you're
help.
taking on the interview process, going through your checklist and evaluations, and
Yeah.
before you even ever go out to the job, you need to
Mhm.
know what's there. Don't be one of
Yeah.
those people that's just going, "Oh, I don't want to know nothing. I'm just going to walk on in," because that's the wrong moment. They get messed up. They get messed up doing that. You got to
Mhm.
do your homework. You got to make sure
Yep.
that you're knowing exactly what's happening to these people. What is the problem?
Yep.
The evaluations are key towards being able to answer those questions that you
Yeah.
really need to know.
Do you have people on your team like myself? A lot of sensitives, mediums can discern, good and bad energies.
That's right. I've got an entire psychic team. Yeah.
Do any of them react physically
Oh yeah.
with my throat closes up and I start choking and I have to leave and go out of the building?
It happens. Yeah.
Is there anything specific that happens to yours?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've had several different things, occurrences happening where they were affected more because they were sensitive, because they're empathic, because they have psychic abilities. They've been affected faster and farther than the others. They usually get picked on first whenever they're in a real malevolent situation. They're the ones that will get picked up and thrown across the room, no matter whether they're 300 pounds or not.
Yeah.
It's usually those people that are affected the most, really.
Yeah, I've been hit in the driveway before getting out of the car. I mean, I was like, oh crap. I'm just in the driveway and here it comes.
You
Yeah.
can be, you can be witnessing a whole bunch of getting affected before you even show up on the job.
Yeah,
Days
in
before,
your own
when you
home, you start getting the mental.
just getting the phone call and
Yeah.
having somebody telling you that they're having problems right before you get that phone call, all kinds of craziness starts happening. I've had stuff just fly off the wall in my office out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, like 15 minutes later, I'm getting a new case. I'm like, well, go figure, right? Go
It's like
figure.
when we had, was it Sean Whittington on, or was it him or Bishop Long, and we got the little girl's voice over.
Oh, that was Bishop Long.
Yeah,
when he
right.
was on.
I was so happy to be able to hang out with that guy last October, man. He's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
He's so
Yep.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and even with Sean Whittington, I've been on his podcast and we've had some strange things come up on.
Yeah, he sent me some of his salt and some other good things I have.
Well, his new book is out, but he'll be on in a couple months. I have him scheduled, I think, in September to be on to talk about his new book and the show that he's on. What was that new show?
Oh, yeah, I don't know the name, but just talking about that with somebody the other day.
Yep, completely drawing a blank on it, but yeah, so he'll be on with that one, and Bishop Long was on it with him.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep. Earlier, someone had asked, "Are we dealing with the fourth dimension?"
We're dealing with the fourth dimension.
I deal with fourth, fifth, and all of that. I've got to close when you're closing portals. You know that it's definitely not third. I'll tell you that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know the one time I was attacked, I yelled at it like it was a 2-year-old child.
Oh my God.
Did something wrong. And at that point in time, I knew it wasn't demonic because it stopped.
Yeah.
And thinking back, I could only imagine. I'm just like, that's not what we do. That's not how we treat people. I'm just.
Oh yeah, I was cursing like a sailor and letting him have it when it happened to me. Yeah, that was quite interesting. But the thing that happened with you in the hotel room, there are certain things that happen in our path that are meant to happen to us to educate us for our continued path.
It is.
Like that time I was attacked.
You're absolutely
was early
100% right.
was like one of the greatest lessons for me in dealing with paranormal. And it happened early in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, dude, this is no joke. This is real. And I'm like, it's like, I get it now. This is not we're not going just ghost hunting. There are things that can hurt you out there, mentally, physically.
The way that I look at that, I look to see it as we never know the magic GPS coordinates that the big one upstairs is giving us
Mhm.
until it's
Mhm.
already on us.
Yeah.
You know, he might shift a couple of things he's working on down the road for you that you never know about because he's already down the road doing things that you don't know about yet. And whenever you finally get those steps in and you're figuring all of it out, it's a big old wow. And the way that I think of it is you are basically like a rubber band being stretched out. You are meant to be at that point, but there are things that have to get you to that point. And it does not give you the opportunity to know when that's happening. Sometimes you can figure it out, sometimes you just not.
Yeah. And you need to go from point A to point B to points. You don't need to be jumping ahead. That's one thing with Ghost Ed. We want these younger people, let's crawl. Let's crawl a little faster. Let's stand up. Then we can walk. Then we can run. But let's learn the basics first.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't go to 2 ghost hunts and say you're a demonologist. No, it doesn't work that way.
There you go.
Yeah. But
I am
what if
never
they
going to
have-
call myself a demonologist at all. I'm not. I'm not ever going to
So
take that
many do.
title because
So
there's
many do,
so
and
much
it's-
school. Those people earn those titles whenever, and they don't even like the title demonologist. They hate the title. Every single one of them I've talked to that actually can have that title, they just don't even care. They don't want it. They actually just wanted the education. If they're the real people that's in it to help people only and not just showing up and trying to collect some big gold prize at the end of doing a whole bunch of things, that some people get agreed about them and you can really tell.
Once you
that's
call
why
yourself a
they're trying to
demonologist,
save
you're in a box. You're in that box.
Yep.
And that if you've said I am this, you are that, and you better be happy you're there because that's where you're going to be because you've said that's what I am.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And actually, one question that I just thought of before we get to the next question that's in the comments is I had Christopher George and Anson from Anubis Paranormal Research on my show, my other show, a couple weeks ago. And they brought up how the Vatican is now doing open training for anyone who wants to learn more about demonology. Have you heard about that?
I haven't. I have an independent Catholic organization. We are recognized by the Vatican, but we end up handling our own. We don't usually go to them for the help. Sometimes they come to our people and fly them out where they need them to go. They've had to get our people to help out several different times, and it's good to be able to have somebody that goes, hey, here's your plane ticket, show up at this airport right here, we got you, all you need to do is just, I'm giving you 10 minutes, pack. Okay, that's why I'm knocking on your door right now. Pack your stuff. You got 10 minutes and we're getting you to the airport. And sometimes that happens.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting because they were talking about how that any person, they'd have to go through a qualification, of course, but you didn't have to be a priest or, part of the Catholic Church to go through the training.
But do they want you to come there, or is this going to be like on a Zoom thing?
No, you have to go there.
I'm pretty sure you have to go there because they're very extensive on everything.
It's a beautiful place, the Vatican. I've been. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yep.
I'll tell you that nobody should be doing that until they are prepared enough to be able to have their faith intact. They need to have a very good relationship with the big one upstairs before they're even thinking about jumping into doing stuff like that. Just so, like I said, spiritual warfare is very real. And once you're trying to be clergy, you're saying, okay, I'm going to do this, something comes for you. Every single one of them, every single time anybody's ever said, I'm about to do this, it's coming. It's coming. And you have to mentally prepare yourself for that.
Yep. You mean 200 hours of watching Discovery Channel won't get you there?
No. Nowhere close. No.
I don't know how many times I hear that all the time, but so-and-so does it this way on TV. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
That's 1 hour.
And see what happens. Yeah.
That's just the best of collection.
If you think that's going to work, go right ahead and have my number.
You didn't see how many hours it took to try to figure out one of those little experiments,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
something went wrong. They might not have caught on film, and then they
Yeah.
had to send somebody out because they were way too affected. You know, there's
Or
things
what went
that
wrong
happen,
that they
man.
don't want to show.
Yeah.
Right. There's things that happen, man, and there's a lot of people that get taken out even trying.
I'm so appreciative for the ones willing to sacrifice themselves to do that, because first of all, I'm not interested in it. I have enough problems with dead people.
I
I
hear you.
don't need that. Like,
Right.
no, I'll deal with the dead people. Y'all handle those. They're not,
It makes me feel good to take those cases every now and then because I get burned out really quick in the demonology department.
sure. I mean, because you're using every fiber of your soul and body.
Just trying to fight this stuff off before
Yeah.
you even get there is horrible. You know,
Yep.
I see some good questions showing up in this comment section.
Yep. Our listeners and watchers are very good. I'm going to put my glasses on for
And
this one.
Kelly's on my team, so I know she's good.
She always has good information and good questions. I need to have her back on my morning show. She wants to know, what are your thoughts on closing portals? We've had things mirror jump while trying to close portals. In addition, some really weird channeling looking photos where I tend to be the focal point. It is very intense. Any training I can do.
Yeah, there actually is. I've got parts of my team that go out and do some very extensive training. I'm not sure about the names offhand, but there are people that are in the field of closing portals that know everything about portals, know everything about why mirror jumps are happening, which one is an entrance, which one is an exit, how to shut it down properly, and all of that. Yeah, there are people out there that are experts on every single bit of that, and there is a very good training for it. If you wanted to message me later on, I've got all that information stocked up on my Facebook, and I could spit
I
that
want
off
the
to you
information
later on.
too. Yeah.
I could spit that off to you.
I want people to know the definition of a portal. People use that word a lot, but I don't think they understand what it is. Just like vortex, people think they're the same thing. An energy vortex is not a portal.
Mhm.
It can be, but it's not always. Yeah, that would be a great show for us to do.
I think
It
it's
is.
on our list. I'm just trying to find a big enough channel for it.
Yeah, we
There's
got
a lot. There's a lot of education that's needed for this field. You
Mhm.
know, some scientists are just now starting to go. There is something back behind this, but you know that there is a major field of block just showing up right at our door, and we're saying, hey, we just got this thing walking around, how about that? And they're like, no, that's weird flares, or just some crazy off the hand that they can always come up with just to say that it's not real.
Mhm.
I saw
portals are real.
my mother go through the portal when she left. I mean, I was with her when she was passing, and I saw it at the foot of her bed. As a medium, I can feel like where they're coming in and out of. But this, I saw it. It rippled like water. And I'm looking at it. I was like, Mom's leaving. My sister says, how do you know? I didn't want to say because I can see the door because she thinks I'm nuts already.
Mhm.
But and she was gone. I was like,
Yep.
She just went through that. The air was just moving like water.
Mhm.
I was like, it gives me cold chills because it was an amazing experience to be there with her for that.
Yeah. I've closed a portal in the past, and it took everything out of me. And when I see them, they look like you're looking through a kaleidoscope.
My people actually team up. One will be able to help with the energy for another that is closing them. They
Mhm.
can shift and make sure that each other's got a back like a chiropractor, basically. They're making sure that everybody has got enough energy to really close them off proper.
Yeah. No one else on the team I was on wanted to even be a part of it. So they all left.
Yeah, there's a few that get freaked out pretty quick once they start seeing all that.
Yeah.
I've got SLS footage when we were closing portals of things jumping out and trying to get away, and then all of a sudden there was one little move that was pulled on the closing of that portal, and they just stopped, and they was like, "Ow, ouch, ow," coming through the ghost box with an intelligent response right there at the same time. And yeah, it happens. It's good to be able to close them. You don't want to leave them open. I'll tell you that.
Yep. And Kelly agrees with that. It's exhausting. They typically have 3 to 4.
Right. Yeah, there are some very good people in the field of portals, and I can shoot all that information later on. I'd have to look at my Facebook and stuff to be able to give you all that.
Yep. And I think we're caught up on questions in there. And the one question that I get asked all the time, you always hear it's a demon, like we had talked about earlier, but how common are demonic cases?
Well, I'll tell you this. I probably end up picking up one out of every 20. And I will say that a lot of the issues that I've had is that these things have tried to take on people with mental problems, and it can manipulate them a lot farther, a lot faster. So that's who they go and target most. And that's one of the biggest things that I've had to put a hold on, is that you can't really end up even saying that there are just 1 or 2 out of the 30, because there's so many diabolical forces that can show up in the midst of another problem that's happening, that are only clues. They're only clues towards knowing when those diabolical forces are actually happening in the background of everything. I've watched as people lost everything that they own. Their entire life just went to hell the minute that they were even leaving and going home after being in a place. They didn't do any protections. They were provoking. And I'm not talking any religious provoking. I'm just saying they were provoking, period. They were acting like they were going to be able to walk up and Mike Tyson punch this thing and get in a fight that's physical. And
if only it were that easy.
You are messing with metaphysical stuff. You're not going to be able to just Mike Tyson punch. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. You better have your faith ready, because that's what gets you out.
Now, correct me, because I'm not educated in this, but there's stages like I think it's obsession, oppression, and possession.
There's 5, buddy. There's 5.
Okay. Because when you get to full possession, it's over with. Is that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're
going
to the loony bin, because we can't get that out of you.
Yeah.
And, so where down the line of the 5 stages, can you name them for us?
Well, there is infestation.
And that can be like a homes infested.
Well, homes, people, more than homes. A lot more people than homes, usually. That infestation starts up after an attachment presence, something that they did, something that they didn't do. Sometimes it's the most Christian person that's on the block that ends up getting affected, and it's specific because they want to tamper with that faith more than anything else. They're testing that boundary, and the infestation. There's a lot that goes in towards that, and those stages get really mixed up in between. But going in towards a situation where people are affected, those stages are not all present until they are already in a mode of infestation way past, like towards vexation. Vexation is something that people don't really even think about. It's like a midst in between everything after it's already started. After they've already started isolating themselves and started talking sometimes in different languages that haven't been around for thousands of years. And they have things levitating, objects levitating around them, or they are levitating. There's a 3 page evaluation for everything towards all of it. And going in towards that 3 pages, it's a lot.
At
It's
what
big
point
change.
are most people in when you get to them?
A lot of the times, unfortunate. A lot of the times it's the family that's showing up and trying to get me because it's already past infestation. Oppression is usual by the time somebody's showing up. I've even had cases where somebody thought that it was just a ghost, and all of a sudden they're up in the middle of a pizza place, and we're taking a Skype call, recording, and then all of a sudden, because there's a religious object out, these people are affected. They've already been affected. They've already been in a infestation mode. They've already been in an oppression mode. They've dealt with vexation, and they've dealt with a possession. And sometimes the first time is going to help tremendously if you can get to them in time. First couple of days, you might have a chance to pull them out of it, and one time only might be needed. But a lot of the times, an exorcist has to work for a very long time to make sure that the vexation process and the possession process, it's pretty much already taken them on. They're going to be there. They packed the lunch because they knew that they were going to be there for a minute.
Now, like if we're going to cleanse a house, you can't just wave sage around and expect it to be done. The people living in the home have to be educated too on what they need to do. So when you have a family surrounding a person that's that's your client, you've got to educate all of them. Do you ever have to get them to have mental evaluations? Because
every time
it's just crazy, and it can be
every time. Every single time, every single client of mine has to go through a background check and a mental evaluation. That's first and foremost.
The family members of that person, because some of the family members can be so.
Some of them are affected too.
It's
not just one person. It's not just one person. Sometimes there are families that are affected, not just one person in the house. There's a case where a young woman was affected, as well as her grandmother in the home was even worse affected. It just depends on the case, really. It really does. You got to handle that one case by case. And making sure that every single one of them have the education, the counseling, and going through the process. A lot of the times they are needing a grieving process. They've lost somebody. They've had something happen. I've had a case where somebody's son ended up dying in the middle of an exorcism, and she was being affected years down the road and looking for help. And she couldn't even show up at her job. She was being affected at her job. She was hanging out in the car calling, please pray with me right now. And that's those moments.
Let me ask you this question. Can a home that has an infestation, if all the people that were in the house are gone and the house is empty, can it remain infested with no humans living in the house?
Absolutely. They don't need nobody there. The real diabolical forces don't need nobody. They don't need that battery source. It's not like some regular thing that's sitting in there that's just going to remain dormant. And there's a big difference in everything. Whenever you're showing up in a place that is truly affected, where people have done rituals that they weren't supposed to, like mostly occult rituals end up bringing that on. I've walked into a whole haunted town, and seen where somebody knew how to do the dead tree ritual. And, they had already done like 7 of the 8 gates. And then they were on that 8th one, and they had already messed up, because usually by the time the 5th one is there, they have the infestation, they have vexation, oppressions are way past that. So, yeah, yeah. Whenever you're in a true diabolical place, it's going to be there whether you are or not, and it's going to be able to just jump right into your lap if it wants to,
Yeah.
jump right into
And
your mind whenever it needs to.
a home where people are living that there's drug use, depression, sadness, all these type of negative energies are
That's
in
big
those
plus, big
be
plus.
a magnet and just
That's exactly
draw
what
this.
it is.
Because I'm thinking of a case we had about 3.5 years ago, and that house was infested like a hornet's nest.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, and I just wonder.
Well, it does what typically I say is that even an environmental can happen, and where there's just residual energies present of a loop that's been recorded with stone tape theory.
uh,
That can happen just as much. In those diabolical situations, there are people that walk into the room that it feels more comfortable jumping into. If somebody is strong in their faith, they don't want to really jump into them. If there's somebody else that's screaming at the top of their lungs, "I worship, Satan" or something like that, that's the people that's going to be the first on the list. The suicidal, that's one of the things that's on our evaluation sheet. We always have to be very cautious around that. It's very, very scary situation for them because they've already been at the edge. They've already, closed their minds off, and they've been at the veil, and then they've came back and they've tried to, live a peaceful life all of a sudden, and there's something there messing with them again, and it's all because they have already been there. It's already because of the life that they've lived. It's so easy for some to be so susceptible towards these problems. And you do find out, um, I see a question, an increase around major cities. It's rural just as much. It's rural just as much. I've got people calling me up that all you get is a highway name, an address, and it's just a highway name. There is no real street to be able to get to. It's just rural as rural can be, and they are getting affected just as much. Haunted voodoo dolls that are supposed to be the fake voodoo dolls, and all of a sudden they got stuff that's messing with them, and yeah, yeah,
I mean, if there's anything we've learned in paranormal and doing this, it can happen anywhere. It can happen in a high-rise New York City apartment. You can have an entity. It can happen in the middle of the woods in a farm. I mean, it makes no difference because
it's very true. It's all about what the people have done with their lives.
Yeah.
Collections are a very big factor as well. I used to be in my 20s going around doing this. I'm 41 now. In my 20s, I was a collector. I was bringing stuff home from these cases just as a memento, and making sure that I remembered everything about it so that I could
Yeah.
utilize that information later on. Looking and seeing that object and remembering, well, 9 years ago I did watch holy water evaporate off that kid's head. So yeah, I need to be precautious this time. There's things like that that happen all the time, and objects are a big part of it just as much. You could bring home a dresser that was previewed towards somebody building that and then having some kind of occult rituals done in the same room. There's mirrors that are not just portals, but there was occult rituals done like scrying, and there's several different things that people do on a daily basis that they find out the hard way they shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
That's a lot of my cases, is that people messed up and they don't have anybody to turn to. They don't know who to call.
It's like Ouija boards. How many cases that we've discovered they played with the Ouija board in the house?
That's
There's
all.
no other common denominator other than a Ouija board. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't understand why a board game was put in front of a kid's face like that. I think that's one of the dumbest inventions towards a kid's game ever.
I don't think it was a random thing. I think it was a
It was a reason.
it was a
It was a way.
yeah.
It was a way of making sure
Yeah.
that somebody could tap in and get screwed up. That's
Yeah.
my opinion of it.
Yep, higher forces at work. I just
Absolutely.
see my mom just logged in. Hey, Mom.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, hello, mama.
But one question I did have while you were talking about all that, and I know it's not demonic cases that we've dealt with, but regular cases where the clients refuse to go see a doctor, refuse to get help. How do you guys handle that? I know some people say, well, they're refusing to get help because the demons are preventing them.
I have had
A lot
to
of people
reach out.
say.
Sometimes I've had to reach out to their family and make sure that we have their loved ones on contact for that situation. Specifically, like if they're already under and they're sitting in their car somewhere and they've already started the channeling process and they're out of it and not responsive, we have to have emergency contact. That's one of the first things that we do. Whenever we're taking those cases, is we make sure that even if we're not able to get a hold of you, we are able to get a hold of you. And if they're refusing to get all of those things done, we have to close that off and tell them point blank, we will not help you until you take care of everything on our list. That's just the way it is. You got to build a bridge and get over it, because this is the way that we do this. And we have to watch out for us, our team. We have to watch out for you, your family. That's just the way it is. And we have to rule out every single common denominator that we could have, whether or not there's some problem on the home that you ain't thinking about that's completely normal, whether or not there's something in the family that is a mental problem that's something very normal, or whether or not it's medications that they took that has left them susceptible towards creating manifestation problems. That can happen just as much.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've had to walk away several times because the client would not do the necessary steps. We need to rule out certain things. We're not going to put ourselves in danger. It's,
No, I got a family to worry
we're
about.
not getting paid. We're not going to.
I got a kid to deal with. First and foremost, I take care of my family. That's
and
not
if they're
gonna happen.
serious about solving the problem, they're going to do what you ask. Like
exactly, the people that are really needing the help, they will jump in and do what they need to get you there.
Right.
And it proves itself 100% the minute that you see that.
We turned down a case, and we actually got a call from another team in the same city saying, hey, we heard you were working on this case. Can you help us? And it's like, we had to turn that one down because of, X, Y, and Z, and she didn't want to do it.
There's a certain Facebook group relating to one certain person in Georgia that has contacted group after group, and it's a dangerous situation.
That's always the case, isn't it? That's the one that tries to jump in. There is quite a few different states that have that problem, where there's at least one or two that have mental problems that need to go and get themselves checked out, and they refuse to think anything but this is a paranormal situation. And you do have to make sure that you go over that checklist, and you make sure that you get every single thing checked off before anything else happens. You have to get them psychiatric evaluations, or my exorcist ain't showing up. I promise.
Yeah, we've actually. Oh, go ahead, Philip.
The clients that I just love are the ones that will do these things. Like we had a client last year whose chandeliers were blinking, and I said, the only way to debunk this, you need to get an electrician in to check what's going on, because we cannot say that's paranormal. You could have had a wiring through your wire. She said, this house is a year old. It can't be the wiring. I said, yes, it can. And, she's got the electrician out. He couldn't find anything wrong. He said that shouldn't be happening. They're on two different breaker circuits to begin with. He said, so if one's going off, the other one shouldn't be.
But you
So
got to roll out all that. You
gotta
have
roll
to
it
go
out,
through
yeah.
this checklist. Otherwise, somebody can just name it off without, you even showing all of the evidence in the world. Somebody can just name off all kinds of crap.
But her house was haunted, though. But
Sure.
we ruled, we ruled out it wasn't,
You got to knock that out. You got to knock that out.
We interviewed a couple last week, and there's a situation with a gun, and what happened with the gun, I can't give it away, but something happens and he doesn't know how it happened. So it was like, you need to get some neurological tests to see if you're blanking out or something happens that you don't remember how this happened.
I tell
before
you,
we can say it's paranormal. Plus, it's a dangerous situation if we go in there.
Exactly. I've been in that shoe.
Have a problem, medical problem that caused him to do this thing.
Yeah.
That he doesn't remember. Yeah.
I've had to deal with the situation where I was there to do an investigation. She didn't say everything that I needed to know when I was going through all this checklisting. Before I even showed up, I had a whole bunch of problems where my crew was having bad things happening. Nobody could show up. Don't go in alone if you possibly can. I had already made that promise to these people that I was going to help them as soon as I could. And they were being they were dealing with so many problems that somebody needed to show up very fast.
Yeah.
And I showed up, and after about an hour and a half of doing the regular investigating mode, all of a sudden I saw a woman that was channeled by a dark entity. Her dog was following something, jumping in and out of the wall and tracking it, and I've got all of it recorded, and I had to hold holy water on her for 30 minutes straight to get that thing out. And it's a situation that you never forget. That's a brown pants moment, seeing somebody's body contort and their face all of a sudden swell up, turn colors, turn into a blowfish, and start talking where there's 3, 4, 8 voices popping out of them that's nothing to do with theirs. A lot of people are not prepared like they should be for those cases, and I'm a firm believer in making sure that my people know exactly what they're walking into whenever they get there. Just because you can run into that. And the whole time I'm trying to help this woman out, and she's channeled by this dark entity, there is a gun literally right in front of her, right beside her, just sitting like next to the couch. And I didn't even find out that, until it was too late.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm getting in between that gun and her, and I've been there. I've done that. I've had to live that life.
Yeah, there's nothing scarier than going on an investigation with a fellow investigator who's twice your size and have their eyes go black.
Yeah, that sucks.
That
really does.
freaked the crap out of me.
You better have.
Luckily, he snapped out of it fast enough, but.
Right.
Have you ever had, even trying to get to a location, if there's a diabolical or something? I had a case where my GPS kept taking me to the wrong houses, and I would like, this is not where I'm supposed to be, and I would put the exact address in again and hit go, and it take me to another wrong address.
You know what I love? I love having an extra GPS that's not connected towards that big eye in the sky.
Yeah.
I love having an old school Garmin, or
it was a Garmin.
Yeah, or the TomTom. Thank you, TomTom. Thank you, TomTom, because everything on Google just sucked ass. And you got to deal with that.
And it was so obvious. I called and I said, I am in somebody's driveway and it's not the house. I said, is anybody else having trouble getting to this house? And they're like, well, my car wouldn't start. And it's like, something does not want us showing up there. But I finally found it. But it took me to 3 wrong houses with that one address.
Electrical disturbances everywhere once you're trying to get somewhere to help somebody that's
I thought it was fascinating. I was like, this is fascinating. You know,
Yeah, we had that on a case once. The investigator I was going with, his engine block blew up. I think it was. It was something. I mean, he had to get a whole new engine. So he called me to give him a ride. I said, "Sure, I'll give you a ride." Just as I hung up the phone with him, our water heater blew up, and we had water everywhere. So I'm waiting for the maintenance guy to fix the water heater, thinking I'm going to be late picking him up. And then just as I got the water heater fixed, I'm like, okay, I'm leaving. And then I got a call from my son's music school saying that he had been exposed to COVID, because this was right at the beginning of COVID. So I'm like, well, now that I've been exposed to COVID, I can't go to a client's house.
yeah.
That's the truth. That's the
So it
truth.
was like
I've
one thing
stepped
after
away.
another, just didn't want us there that night.
Yeah, I've stepped away because of COVID quite
Yeah.
a few times, just because my family hit it. Somebody that was over at the work ended up being right next to. I was always precautious about
Yeah.
that, just to make sure. I didn't want to get nobody sick just being around. That's
Yeah.
not cool.
No.
You can save that one for later. You don't have to be there. You can get
Mhm.
somebody else to go for you.
Yep.
And as long as you have people prepared, you'll be all
Yeah.
right. That's why I have a team of 30, just in case,
Mhm.
case, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's really, really awesome on my team. I love the hell out of every single one of them. And I fight for them whenever I need to. And I put them on cases as much as possible. I'm about to be having them on them a lot more than me, specifically making sure that I can take care of everything for my family more. I'm seeing some really good questions over
Oh,
there.
yeah, they're still popping in.
Wow.
What is that on Facebook or on? Because I'm not seeing them on Facebook.
I'm seeing it. It shows when
Go,
it's on
go to the
YouTube
comment
and
section of
Facebook.
StreamYard.
Oh,
Why do professionals not take the darkness upon themselves? Actually, they do. If you ever known, there are exorcists that have had to be exorcised, and sometimes it's a lot of the opportunities of them showing up and taking care of being an exorcist. They put themselves first on the list for being the next in line. They end up having organ problems. They end up getting sick. They end up having to end up getting put in a padded, locked up area, specifically because they are the ones that take that darkness on themselves after their case. That's just going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
There's several
Dr.
on
Barry
the list.
Taft suffered that too.
Mhm.
okay. How many times have I been on StreamYard and I had no idea you can click on comments and see?
Now you know, buddy.
Oh my
Now
gosh.
you know. Now you got that co-host ready to go mode.
What? Where are you seeing the comments? All I saw were private chat. It's like, oh, there it is. Okay.
Now I see something here. LSD. Yeah. So that is one of the factors that we ask on our evaluations. Is anybody using heavy dosage drugs? We need
Yes.
to know. I've had people that were strung out trying to holler at me and get me to showing up at their place, and
Yeah.
that ain't cool. We cannot have you on LSD if we're there trying to do a paranormal investigation. That does not happen. That's not going to be okay with me.
No.
What's
Even
up, Jeff?
prescription medications that they're abusing is just as dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about addiction being tied to demonic or attachments? Yeah, it's all a part of it, buddy. You are left susceptible when you do things like that in your life. And nobody knows how much they just opened up that door. But it's like that commercial, opportunities knocking. You gonna answer?
Yeah, your mind's altered by those drugs,
Mm-hmm.
and you make bad decisions when your mind's impaired.
That's right. Yeah.
And they lie. They can make things look absolutely beautiful and enticing. And when you're in a low spot in your life, that you're to the point where you're doing drugs like that,
Mm-hmm.
that entity, I hate saying the D word, they're
Don't
going to come at you with some beautiful things, and you're going to and it's
They'll
like
tell you that they
it's a
love
lie.
you. Yeah, they'll tell you they love you. They will tell you that they're an angel.
Mm.
I've had people that are psychic that had people on the other side for guides, And all of a sudden finding out that they weren't talking to their regular person. This person started telling them the future, what was about to happen, what they needed to do at that situation, where they needed to go. And they were like, wait a minute, I don't recognize this voice.
Yeah,
I
they're
have
not
no
gonna tell
idea
you
who
that.
you are. And so my exorcist got online with her and was asking some questions. And all of a sudden he said a couple of things in a different language, and things just boom, kicked off right there on the spot. And then you know. Do you feel that it opens you up to the demonic, or a lot of addicts are addicted? Well, that's a coinciding effect, buddy. A lot of the times they're first on the list whenever they're doing it, so they are left more susceptible. And yeah, they're going to be opening up their third eye, tripping their bungoyas off, and that's just how it is. Um, possessed, not addicted. Yeah, the possessed can end up having all kinds of issues with their lives where they were left susceptible. There's just so many different opportune moments that they can jump in on somebody, waiting until a loved one dies and they're grieving, and all of a sudden they can jump in acting like that is their lost loved one. I had that happen about a year ago, and being able to do all of these cases, it'll let you know exactly how much the occult is in effect. Sometimes, whenever you're strung out on something and tripping, and you're pulling out a Ouija board and trying to have communications, that thing can get picked up and chunked at you, man. And
You'll get communication, all right, but
you ain't able to close that door, then you're going to have something there for a very long time.
maybe you can dispel this myth, or if it's fact or fiction. But I had heard someone at some point say, when the D word is trying to disguise itself as something human, or we
Yeah,
often hear like a child, a little girl appears, and
yeah.
it's not actually a little girl, that they will not be in perfect form as a human, that something will be distorted in that apparition.
I
That
have noticed the black eyes syndrome instead of the regular looking
okay,
past life person. I've noticed a change in the color spectrum whenever you caught them on film or on photo. I've noticed the looks are deceiving, but a lot of the times there is something that you can find about it that you know for sure that it is not human.
just
Like,
not right. Yeah.
I've got a photo of what was supposed to be a boy in a field that has a very elongated jaw and has the black eyes
Yeah.
and petting a dead dog. You could totally tell that half of this dog had carcass, just skin ripped off in patches and showing a little bit of rib cage and stuff like that whenever you take a real good look at it. But you try not to matrix yourself out either whenever you're doing all that. There's a lot of people that trip out on themselves and can create a self manifestation
Yeah.
problem just by, taking a photo, and all of a sudden they're squinting, so they keep zooming in. And then by the time it's over, they're zooming, they're turning it upside down, taking a look, and then
Circling it.
it's like looking at the cloud and saying, "Oh, that looks like BB King right there."
Yeah.
Uh, Jeff has another question.
Can a dark witch send actual demons to attack people? Yes, they can. Of course they can, buddy. Of course they can. That's what
What,
they do. That's
what's
why
to
it's
keep
called dark magic.
what's to keep the witch from getting attacked by her own
Nothing,
legion?
actually. Nothing, actually. Just the
Yeah.
loyalty alone screws them. Yeah.
Like there's karma in that with
Oh,
the
yeah.
dark witch.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. You're selling your soul for what?
Yeah. So
Not worthy.
you're not that smart if you do that.
Yeah. thinking about it. I mean, I know there's several people that I've talked to that has been affected, and they showed up in a house whenever they were a kid. Their family was moving in. The dad was a preacher, and starting a seminary. And so they moved into the oldest house that was cheapest on the block. And all of a sudden, come to find out, they were renting from a covenant, and that covenant had done rituals to drain life force and create problems within the family. And they were getting attacked. They were, yeah, yeah. There's all kinds of problems like that from them doing the dark magic. It opens that door completely, and it'll get them by the end of it. Always does.
Yeah.
Every single time. That karma just comes and kicks them right up in the butt.
It's like people trying to kill their spouse and think they're going to get away with it. You never get away with it.
Yeah.
Just watch 48 Hours. You're never going to get away with it.
Sometimes I see a halo with it. That is how I can tell the difference. What are your thoughts? Called trickster. Well, yeah, there's some tricks that get played on people. That's the beginning stages of dark malevolence, really. The infestation point after the attachment, you will start noticing little tricks being played. Everything from, objects moving on you. You set your keys down after coming home from work and they're not there when you need them again. You can have all kinds of problems with your refrigerator getting picked up and moved across the room, or your bed shaking and levitating on you whenever you're trying to go to sleep and you're the only one in the house. There ain't nobody else there to be picking your bed up and shaking it around.
That would take me off.
Stuff messing with your feet. Like I said earlier, the more I investigate, I find out that there's more dark out there that will mess with the people instead of the house.
And get reaction out of people, not a house. So, yeah.
There's your issues.
Don't ever hang your feet off the edge of the bed when you sleep. They must always be under the sheets.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. Or store enough stuff under the bed so nothing can get under there.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, yes, there was a situation with a pope. You can go ahead and do that one. Yeah, there was a situation that was
I
like
hear about that.
A pope was dealing with being affected after a case. But that's going to happen a lot more, and they're not going to say anything about it. The fact that you get the opportunity to find out about it, that just means that it was leaked out from one of them, and that's about all there is. That's going to happen a lot more than people get the opportunity to know. There's a lot of cases like that out there where, like I said before, the exorcist is first on the list the minute that they help somebody. Yeah.
You have the recording studio. Do you ever get accidental EVPs when you're recording somebody?
Not so much in my studio, but I've gone out and done recording on a location.
Yeah.
And at the middle of sound check, I was in a very haunted location, so I was actually expecting it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did capture some EVPs being in a haunted location. It's Old Orangeburg Road. I was there doing a charity show, and I had stuck a Zoom H4n audio recorder right next to my car that was a little bit far away from the stage enough to just be able to pick up what I wanted to from everything with being on the set with my drummer, my bass man, and me playing guitar and doing vocals. And then whenever we get done with all of that, everybody had calmed and settled down. My car was very far away, and it was picking up things as I was in that area because I was right by a very a very haunted location is all I can say. Look up Old Orangeburg Road in Columbia, South Carolina. And Yeah, that'll tell you everything. EVPs. If you put baby powder on your back bumper and put the car in neutral, all of a sudden you'll notice that there's handprints and
In your car.
you'll
Yeah.
have people pushing your car. You know, there was a school bus full of kids that got stuck on railroad tracks. And all of a sudden, when people showing up on those tracks is when they will make sure that you get off those tracks as long as it's in neutral. You will have that happening to you. And this was right down the road from where I was jamming out. Didn't have nothing to do with being in a paranormal situation except for the location itself. I was there raising money for a kid that needed it, and that's about it.
Spirits are everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we have a couple more questions before we start wrapping things up. What tools are important for you to have when you're dealing with something malicious?
A proton pack and a ghost trap.
Bow and arrow. No.
Yeah. Now, the tools of the
The
trade,
baseball bat? No.
you know, I will say that for the most part, my tools of the trade usually are that rosary that was given to me, passed down from St. John Paul II to my exorcist, Archbishop Rawcliffe, to me. That's a very awesome gift. And I think that the only reason why it really works more is because of my faith. But I have seen it literally making sure that people get help no matter what. Crucifix, holy water, holy oil, and just the blessings in general of all of that. The incense of Saint Michael, Palo Santo, frankincense, myrrh, and all of that. Mixes of different incense can help tremendously as long as they're the religious type. There's a very special form of Saint Michael incense where they mix that with different connections. The priest will bless his altar with it, and make sure everything's good and cleared out before they even do everything with their mass and all of that. And that's what you really want to do whenever you're dealing with a situation. You're showing up and there's somebody that's truly affected, and it's gone past a mode of attachment, infestation, and oppression, and vexation. Almost right there at the end for possessions.
I think the biggest tool for what you would do is education and knowledge. All your things that you use are useless if you did not know what you know and know what to do with them.
Exactly. Your education is key. Knowledge is power.
Mhm.
And everything with life, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Not just about this. I mean, try to go out and live life. Don't think about death all the time. Don't go out and do these paranormal missions all the time. Try to live life while you still got it. Try to enjoy yourself. Crack a joke every now and then and smile. You get on these cases, and then all of a sudden you're just stuck in the serious mode, and it creates a very bad problem right there. I do love Joe Frankie. Damn it.
Yep.
Right, I do. He's part of my team. He's part of my team. That's right. That's right.
And then Kelly had a quick question. Is that why the current Pope just had hernia surgery?
Well, I'm not going to go there, but a pope being a pope in general, like I said before, is having spiritual warfare, not just when he starts, but all through his life. There's tests of that, and Pope is on the list to doing exorcisms. He's done a couple back in the day, and then he got Pope, and it shuts down your organs, and you're getting failure and sepsis and all kinds of problems. There are all kinds of problems that these exorcists have. I've talked to quite a few now, and I've dealt with the people that are in the demonologist area just as much. They get affected just as much. But popes end up dealing with a lot. Same as any exorcist, these things come for you. They don't care about your health. They don't care about your family. They're there to ruin single part.
Total ruination is their goal.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, spiritually.
Ooh, I see something about elementals.
Yep. That was going to be our last question.
Oh, I do like that. Now, there's a few times I've ran into some situations where I was under an assumption of classifying towards elementals more, but that's just because when you're getting in the classification mode, breaking everything down, it's just more geared towards answering towards being the elemental more. I know that elementals exist. All right. Yeah. Yeah. They're real. They're very real. You know.
Okay. Well, we are caught up on questions and out of time. But thank you so much, Ron, for joining us. It has been very educational and enjoyable on top of it.
Absolutely. I was loving this.
We
Thank you
need to
for
stay in
having me.
contact more often.
It will help. It
Yeah.
will help. And like I said, I'll go ahead and check into all that information about the portals, and I might end up typing in the comments for
Okay.
people just to be
Yep.
able to put that out. And I'll send
Perfect.
a couple of hey, thanks. I
Mhm.
love being able to be here, man. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for doing
Perfect.
what you do, educating, getting out towards the public. No matter whether it's one person or 1,000, you give them your heart and your soul, guys.
Yep.
It'll be worth it.
Yep. Thank you so much. And can you let everybody know where they can find you?
Yeah, sure. All you got to do is look up SPIR, SPIR, Stokes Paranormal Investigations Research. You can look up Stokes Pro Studio, and you can look up Ron Stokes. I am all around. You know. And yeah, it's that simple. You look
Mhm.
up Ron Stokes, you gonna find me.
Okay.
And I've made sure that I put out 100 different flyers every single place on social just for it.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And Philip, do you want to do a shout out for your team real quick?
Yes, Georgia Paranormal Investigations. And for any of our friends in South Carolina, Georgia, that you know, Saturday night at Stately Oaks Historic Site, we're doing a ghost hunt educational event. There's still tickets for sale on Eventbrite. We're going
Send me
to
the
do
link, buddy. Send
we're
me the
going to
link.
do Paranormal 101 presentation. There are 3 really great buildings on the property. We're going to teach you how to investigate. We're using all our equipment, and it's going to be a good time. A few surprises.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
please join
Yeah.
us. We have some tickets
I wish
left.
I wasn't investigating Fort Date, or I'd be coming up.
Yeah, we're going to have fun.
I hear you, man.
This place is very haunted.
Yeah. I bet, man. I bet South Carolina in general has a lot of hauntings.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm about to be going to Hilton Head Island next week,
Oh,
and
I want to go.
Stony Baynard Ruins. I'm
I
going
love
back.
Hilton Head.
I'm going back to Stony Baynard Ruins, and I'm going to the lighthouse for the Blue Lady, and I'm going towards the Chapel of Ease, and I'm going to check out the sites, man. I'm going to love being able to do all that. Just got to worm my way through everything and make sure that I can end up making time for family first over there.
Mhm.
You know. But I appreciate being on here. Thank you for everybody that was part of it. Great comments, great questions.
Yep.
We have
There's
great
a lot of good
viewers.
people there. A lot of good people there. Y'all are a great team working together. We can make sure to educate the world.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
We're trying.
We've banged our head a couple times trying, but we're trying.
Oh,
It's a very, very tough.
Yeah.
It's very, very tough job. You know, it's a very tough job.
That's not an orb. Stop. Yeah.
Right. Well,
That was such a fun episode.
I'm
Oh
just
my
going to
God.
remember I'm part of the Breakfast Club, guys.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
I'm part of the Breakfast Club. Yeah.
But thank you everyone for watching us. You can make sure you follow us on Facebook at Ghost Education 101, where you can watch live, see upcoming shows coming up. And then you can also follow us on YouTube. It's listed as Ghost Education, but the is at Ghost Education 101. We stream live there as well. And I'm in the process. I have gone through and downloaded all of our previous videos, and we'll be uploading them there shortly. I just don't want to overwhelm YouTube and get banned from there again in the future. So you'll slowly see our old episodes from 2 years ago going up little by little. And I am super excited. We do have a couple more episodes with special guests, and then we're going to be returning to our normal format of panel discussions and presentations. But next week we have the godfather of the paranormal, John Zaffis, joining us for a discussion on all things paranormal and his haunted
Wow.
collection. He will be
That's
coming
awesome.
in that one, so make sure you tune in. I'm looking forward to chatting with him. I had a great phone call with him, and he's an amazing guy. Has a
I
lot of
sent him a
information.
message and I never got anything back. Tell him that.
I'll tell him.
Stokes sent you a message a very long time ago. And you
I was
never
like,
got
I
back.
messaged him, and he got right back to me. I have him on speed dial now, so I'll make sure I message him and tell him.
I'll forward the email. Okay.
That's great.
Tell him Stokes said hey.
Definitely
That's
will.
awesome.
And
He's
then
a great guy.
real quick, just sneaking a peek at our calendar. Before we go back to panel discussions on July 5th, I figured being the day after 4th of July, I wanted to do something fun. We are going to have horror actor, author, and musician Blake Best joining us to talk about what he's doing, what projects he's working on, and also some of his paranormal experiences as well. And then we return to our presentations on July 19th for a roundtable discussion on the Ouija board usage. So make sure you guys all tune in. But thank you again, Ron, for joining us.
Thank you,
Philip, it was
Ron.
great to have you on here today.
Thank you.
Well, the last time there were so many guests on the panel, I thought you don't need one more on here.
I just sat there. They ran the show.
They did.
It's true.
But it was a lot of
It
fun.
is the Warren Foundation. They can do all that. Yeah, definitely. I appreciate being on here, man. Thank y'all
Thanks
so
for
much.
joining us. We appreciate you.
Y'all are two great people.
Because I couldn't do what you do. So thank you.
Lots of love to you
Yep.
and your families. You know, y'all make sure to stay strong, stay safe, stay vigilant. Stokes
You too, and
loves you.
stay in touch.
Rock on. Yeah. I'm gonna be jamming out on the beach next week. If anybody wants to go to Hilton Head Island off of Pope Avenue, I'm gonna be there with my guitar all week.
Oh,
Come and rock out with Stokes. I'll give you the opportunity. I'm gonna be there.
I'll definitely have to do that one day.
Yeah.
But you all have a great night, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.